Welcome to VMware Explore 2022 with the CTO Advisor Studio. Come on in and consume some content.
Welcome back to coverage of VMware Explore 2022. It has been kind of a geek tech reunion of sorts. A lot of these people I haven't seen in 3 or more years. It has been amazing having conversations about TPUs, GPUs, cloud, securing secondary processors, just a geek fest. We're going to continue that Geek Fest with a good friend from the community, John Hildebrand, Principal Technologist at Cohesity. John, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Thanks for sponsoring the CTO Advisor Studio at VMware Explore 2022. John, first off, how's the conference been for you?
Well, it's been fantastic. I mean, as you mentioned, it feels like a family reunion all over again. So getting to see people you haven't seen in quite some time, or that you've only seen on Zoom for an extended period of time. So to be able to handshake, hug, I'd say mostly hug. I'm a hugger, so been able to just to get back with the community and feel involved once again.
So earlier today we had on the program Sanjay Poonen. So you have to follow him up. But more importantly, you get to put some meat, some technical meat, around some of the stuff that he was talking about. You know, Sanjay Poonen, sharp guy, but you know, CEO, talking CEO things. I want to talk data protection with you.
Okay.
And data management. I think one of the things that we talk a lot about in this space is that data protection is a subset of data management. And a lot of these solutions, especially Cohesity, has data management capabilities beyond data protection.
Correct.
What are some of the data management capabilities that are less obvious? Because the normal buyer of the Cohesity solution is the backup or data protection group.
Correct. So we get a lot of folks who, as you mentioned, buy a lot of Cohesity for data protection purposes. But we also have a lot of built-in other features, things for like file and objects. So maybe you've heard of smart files from our portfolio. So being able to consolidate down some of those second, third tier kind of workloads that you've got that you've traditionally put on things like, say, Isilon or some other NAS solutions within your data centers. So that's one more component. So being able to take file and object solutions and bring those down into the platform along with data protection. And one of the other unique things that we like to, well, I wouldn't say it's unique. We've seen other companies try to do it beforehand, but an application layer, third-party extensibility. Being able to install different applications to provide and extract more value from the data that's being accumulated on that particular platform. So these are the sorts of applications that you've probably seen out there in the past. We've done things with Splunk to be able to do some data retrieval from, say, cold storage from a Splunk perspective. We've also got things like security vulnerability scanning, being able to crack open some of those backup copies of virtual machines, as an example, and be able to run vulnerability scanning against that on our platform. So
you guys kind of blur the line between secondary, third tier storage and a backup solution, which initially, I'm going to be honest, back 4 or 5 years ago, that was the knock against Cohesity. What is it? Is it a backup solution? Is it a second tier storage? Has that story started to resonate with customers? You talk to a lot of customers.
Yeah, I'd say it has been. If you consider, to some degree, what VMware originally did to the data center, where it consolidated down a lot of physical workloads into virtual platforms, what we're trying to do is kind of the same thing with a lot of data center operations when it comes to things like lower tier NAS, data protection solutions, some of these applications that you can run for things, as I've already previously mentioned, with things like Splunk, things like vulnerability scanning, plenty of other applications out there to provide more data and insight for your organization at the same time. but that's starting to resonate. We're seeing more customers, we've even actually sold some customers based off of the Smart File solution first, and then they went to the data protection side of the equation. So some of those other components are starting to definitely resonate with the customer base and get some traction behind them.
So let's pivot the conversation to security a little bit. One of the things that data protection companies like to brag about is that eventually your mission critical data is going to end up on backup. And what better location to scan, obviously for viruses, but more today for malware and other vulnerabilities at the secondary, tertiary backup copy. How does Cohesity differentiate themselves between competitors and your solution?
Well, again, from our perspective, being able to extract it on using our own metal, essentially, or I should say, with our OEM partners, the software capabilities, regardless of who you choose from a metal perspective, you've got the ability to run that particular piece of software from just about anywhere, including in some cases from our cloud solutions at the same time. You can run some of these applications because at the end of the day, that particular layer is, for all intents and purposes, running Kubernetes. So we're utilizing Kubernetes for the application layer to be able to install these applications and gain access to the file system so that we can perform these operations.
So do I have some type of partner store I can go to and download these apps, or is this something that I have to go out to a GitHub repository to get? How do I get these apps onto my Cohesity appliance?
So we have a marketplace for that. So whether it's third-party developed or Cohesity developed, we have a marketplace in which you can download these apps to your particular software solution pack that you have and run them as just another set of applications from another tab within our user interface.
So one example you just gave was Splunk. Splunk is data, let's call it data hungry. It will store as much data as you're willing to keep, but obviously, if I have the ability to put CPU against that directly, then there's the advantage of it. Is that the idea that I can have Splunk locally installed on my Cohesity box, do the data collection there, and then do the analysis there as well?
Yeah, that's it, utilizing some of the spare cycles that happen, because from a data protection or from a file and objects perspective, we're not exactly, there are times where the system gets taxed, but it's not a constant taxing that necessarily happens when utilizing the system. So why not use some spare CPU, memory, and storage to be able to throw at some of these problems that are out there?
So let's talk about cloud. One of the challenges I threw at Sanjay is that Cohesity hasn't been known as a cloud company. The way that it was introduced to me is it was a data center backup solution. It was we're at VMware, and one of VMware's most known product is vSphere. It's a great product to back up your vSphere environment. But I have Kubernetes, I have EC2 instances, I have cloud. How is Cohesity addressing those non-vSphere type workloads?
Well, we're continuously adding new things to the portfolio for data sources. So one of the biggest sources that we end up working a lot with, I know we're at a VMware show, but Microsoft 365. Some of the limitations within some of the cloud portfolios from a data protection perspective, if you've ever looked at some of the information that you get about data retention, how long you can hold things from a Microsoft perspective or pay extra for, they're limited. You can only hold maybe things for 30, 45 days at a maximum. And things like legal hold capabilities, holding something and pinning it permanently so you can have immediate access to that particular subset of data. Well, those exist, but they have to go through a support process for you to finally pull it out. So you can take a couple of days to get that legal hold information back, where if you utilize something like Cohesity, you can basically flag that particular snapshot at that point and tell it, I want to hold this. There's a reason I need to hold this. Keep it there. Which is something that you can then extend farther beyond from the standard 30, 45 days that some of these cloud solutions that are offered there. And the same sort of thing happens as well with EC2 instances, RDS databases. So we continue to add as those particular functions become available for us. and obviously as the customer demand comes for those particular sources that are out there.
So talk to me about the control plane. One of the most important things when it comes to data management in general is the control plane. The edge is exploding, and my data sources and locations are various. Is there a centralized type of control plane where I can look at all of my data catalogs in one place?
Yeah, that's where Cohesity Helios comes into play. So it started off originally as the global manager, but has since metamorphosized into something far greater than that. It's turned into essentially the default and de facto front end for utilizing Cohesity from this point on. So that allows you to gain insights into whether it's our managed solutions, if you choose to use those. You've probably heard of our backup as a service capabilities from a cloud perspective. Same thing with Fort Knox, the vaulting, the secure vaulting capabilities. So all of that's being now taken care of within Helios, along with what you would consider your tried and true data center front ends. Or if you choose at the same time your edge front ends as well, if you want to put the software in edge locations at the same time.
So last question, we're at a VMware vSphere centric type of conference, and I'd be remiss if I wouldn't ask about things like, if this is running on metal, there seems to be like this thing, like if I need to restore a VM, shouldn't I be able to restore a VM to the metal itself?
You could argue that. There's a point for that. But at the same time, a lot of the data, especially if you consider some of the proprietary formats in some cases, like for instance, an RDS database, at the moment, Amazon allows you to snapshot the RDS database, but it doesn't allow you to pull the RDS data unless you're doing some sort of script exporting at that point. So, as far as being able to pull that back to a metal perspective, now you've got extra operations you're going to have to perform if you want to gain access to that particular, I'll use MySQL as an example. If you want to use a MySQL database or an Aurora database, you're going to have to pull that data out in some capacity and restore it externally from those particular sources and bring that data back in if you're going to pull tables or forgive my database vernacular, but tables is about as far as I go with those.
That about you and me, well, I think there's tables in columns. I'm not a DBA, obviously. Our DBA friends, our data chick is really looking at us, shaking her head right now. So, last word, John, is there a topic we haven't discussed? Like, is there something you're excited about? Any announcements from the show that we haven't hit?
Well, I would say I'm excited about your hat. It's a very nice hat.
It is an addition since the last time we've talked. We haven't we haven't physically seen each other in person in 3 years. It's been awesome seeing you again, John. We know each other from the Tech Field Day community. Speaking of Tech Field Day community, Cohesity is a massive sponsor of the community. They've done Tech Field Day events. They go into much deeper technical detail on many of these Tech Field Day videos. I just saw Stephen Foskett out the purview of my left eye. He is here on site, working the booth, talking about the relationship between the CTO Advisor, Gestalt IT, Tech Field Day, where John got introduced to the community and maybe even Cohesity. If you want to learn more about Cohesity and their technical capabilities, I highly recommend starting at the Tech Field Day videos. You want to learn more about the CTO Advisor, you can follow us on the web, thectoadvisor.com/projects to learn more about how we put some of these solutions to the test. Stay tuned for more coverage of VMware Explorer 2022.